Hello, grade 10. We're going to do page 121, activity 5.14, and this is the program. Now, it's quite confusing to actually know what the program wants, but we must realize that when they say determine whether the learner is male or female, or determine whether the learner prefers water or cool drink, that is obviously given because we have two radio group boxes there. But the next instruction was keep track of the total number of learners. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is have a global counter, because in the record button we want to count how many times that record button has been clicked. So in record we're going to increment a counter. Now that counter must be a global variable. Our count must be a global variable because each time we click the button we're going to add 1 to it. Okay, so I'll put it, don't forget that this is a comment. So we're going to count how many times the button is clicked, and that is how you count how many times the button is clicked. You make a global counter and you increment it in the button on click event, this one over here. Okay, now they say that we want to get the percentage of females who prefer water, so we're going to count how many female there are and how many males there are, and yeah, overall. So inside the button click event for record we want to count how many females there are and how many males. So that can also be a global variable, R count female and R count male. Now you must note that global variables are automatically set to 0. Remember, when we counting and adding up numbers and counting, we always set our counters and our totaling variables to 0. So even though we don't really have to do this here because they're automatically, global variables are set to 0 anyway straight away, we can go and do that in the onActivate event of the form. So you click on the form, onActivate, double click in that area over there, and we say our count equals 0, our count female equals 0, and our count male equals 0. Now inside the on-click events of this radio group gender, we can increment our female and increment the male, but we need to link it with the soft drinks. So I would actually prefer to do that in the record button. So in record button I'm going to rather get my counter counting the number of females and the number of males. So we will say if this radio group box here, RGB gender, if RGP gender dot item index, remember that there's an item index, if it's equal to 0, then we'll increment the our count female box. If the item index is 1, in other words, if they chose the male, then we'll increment our count male global variable. So we'll have the number of females and the number of males there. I know they have this RGB cool drink dot click event, but we're not going to use them. So here's the thing, if you're not going to use a method, you can delete it over here like that, and then you must also delete it, the header over here, because if you don't, then and you try and run, then the program will give an error. So we're going to run the program and see what happens. I've deleted, and then it says this. This is not an error, it just says, do you want to remove the reference to that on-click event for the RGB cool drink? So you say yes. And for RGB gender, you say yes. And then the program will run. Okay, I have some errors because I forgot to put the 1 there. So I'm going to run it again. And now you'll see the person, they're going to click on female, then they'll click on soft drinks, and then click on record. Now the thing is, we have to see if they've chosen soft drinks or water. So we're going to have counters for the water and the soft drinks. So we're going to have to say begin and end here, because if they chose female and if they chose male, there's going to be different things we must do, because inside here we have to have another if statement and also in here, because if they chose female, then we want to know if they chose water or if they chose soft drinks. Which one of those did they choose? So if RGP gender.itemIndex equals 0, in other words, the radio group button for female was clicked, then we want to keep a counter of what soft drinks and what water, if it was soft drinks or water that they preferred. So I'm going to have another counter. I'll count water female. No, we ask the question. First have to ask the question, if the radio group box, and this is RGB cool drink, this radio group box, if it's 0, then if RGP cool drink dot item index equals 0, then we're going to increment our count water female. Okay, and if RGP cool drink dot item index is 1, then we'll must increment another counter. If it's 1, then we must increment a counter for cool drink. So I'll just put a C there. I count C female. I count W female. I count C female. Now I must go and put those as global variables as well. Yep, there's a lot of them. Count water. I count cool drink female. And those are also going to be counters. And we can set them to 0. Water, and we can go and set them to 0 over here in the on activate event. Like I said, it's not necessary, but we're doing it out of procedure so that you can be reminded that you need to set your counters to 0, as well as your totaling variables. But yeah, we just need counters because they're just going to click on something, click on another thing, and we want to count which ones they've clicked on. So we need integers for female, and female choosing soft drinks and female choosing water, and we also need integer to count how many females there are in total. So that's quite tricky. This is all about the input right now. Sorry. We have to do the same for male. So if the gender, the item index for the radio group box for the gender is 1, then we know we're incrementing count male. But we also need to go and check the radio group box for the water and the cool drink. So I'm just changing these names here. Male, I'll count W male and I'll count C male. That's for the water for the male, or cool drink for the male. And of course we must go and make them global variables too. and I'm using copy and paste because that is the clever thing to do. Male. Right, and then we go and set them to 0 because they're going to be counters. We'll go to our onActivate event, set them to equal 0. And we're done. Quite a lot of counters, eh? So we have to keep track of what we're doing. So if it's female, then we check for the cool drink and whether it's water or cool drink they prefer. If the item index is 0 or 1 for the radio group box cool drink, and if it's male, we'll check if it's if the item index is 0 or 1 for the RGB cool drink for male. 0 or 1, same thing. Right, now we must keep track of what we've got. We've got our count, which is a global, in other words, every time we click the button, that's a total number of people that we have. Okay, it's not a totaling variable, it's a counting variable, counting how many times the button is clicked. So we can do that all the time. Another thing we need to do with this radio group box, with that button record. Right, we want to calculate the percentage of females who prefer water and the females, and we'll do that in our display. Calculating the percentages, we'll do that in our display button. We also want to clear these radio group boxes and clear the labels. Now, for the display, we'll clear the radio group boxes. That's what we'll do for the record button. The record button is getting the input basically. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to clear RGB cool drink, and we're also going to clear the RGB gender. Now, the way you clear a radio group box, you set the item index to -1. That's what you do to clear a radio group box, and then nothing is selected. So what have we got so far? We've got the input. We have got to a point where you can choose female and choose that, and then there's going to be a counter, and then we choose male and choose that, and then we record, choose male, maybe choose water and record. So another person will come along, choose female and choose water and record. Another person will come, choose male, and then choose soft drinks and record. And all the time it's counting up all those counters as we've put in our code there. Now in the display button we will calculate what we need. But before we go and calculate, let's have a look at our display components. Well, it's all labels, LBL num answers. That's where we're going to put in our variable R count. Preferring water, male and female. Now this LBL W female didn't have a caption on it, but the name of that label is called LBL W female, so it's a little bit confusing. I'll just put the caption there, the name. I made sure the caption was the same as the name, just so that we could see that's the name of the label, where we're going to put in the percentage that prefer water and the percentage. There it is. We've got to calculate the percentage of females who prefer water, percentage of males who prefer water, percentages of female who prefer cool drink, percentage of males. So a percentage is meaning the percentage of the total number of learners who prefer water. That makes any sense. You want the total preferring water, and then what is the percentage of that total who prefer water, which are females? What is the percentage of the total that prefer water, which are males? Those numbers don't look 100% correct. Whether we want them to be the percentage of the total number of people that click the record button hasn't been really described here, but I would say it means the percentage of females. In other words, all the females, count the number of females and then how many of those preferred water. So in our display button, we're going to use those global variables over here. So the count of females and the count of males, and then the count of water female, the count of cool drink female. We'll use that with for the percentages. So in the display button, click. I will make some variables here, and I'm going to call it R% F water, R% female cool drink. Okay. And I will calculate R% female water will be equal to the number of females who prefer water, which is R count W female, divided by the number of females altogether and times by 100. And then we'll have some, and take note, I'm using local variables for the percentage. Don't want to use global variables for this percentage because we're calculating the percentage and displaying it all in one place, but we're using the global variables to calculate the percentage, so it's fine, just like that. So we need the same for the males, R% male water, R% M cool drink, but I haven't finished yet with the female. R% F cool drink, female's cool drink, will be equal to R count cool drink female divided by the number of females there are times by 100. And we're going to do the same for the males. We'll R% male water. So I'll just change that to M R count water male, R count C male, and R count male. Alright, R count male, there's R count female, R count male, so those are the two big numbers, and this is the very big number, R count. But we don't have to calculate anything that we've already incremented R count over there. That's going to go in the very top label. We're busy doing the more difficult ones at the moment. So we've got our percentage of females who prefer water and those two, okay. Keep track of the total number, display the percentages in the labels. So we have total number of people must go underneath that word total answers. So we'll do that quickly. So it's LBL num answers. So we're in the display button, remember, don't put it in the wrong place. LBL num answers dot caption, it's a label, equals int to string I count. That's the big counter. And now we can go and put the right ones in here. LBL W female, in other words, the number of females who prefer water. So it's LBL W female dot caption equals R% F water. Well, what are we going to do with R% F water? It's a real number, so we have to say float to string, but we'll do an F because we are going to round it to, we're going to format that string, float to string F, open brackets, R% water. You put it on a new line so you can see. FF fixed, comma, let's make it 8, 0, round to no decimal places. Okay, so that's that one. R% F water. R% F cool drink will be LBL C female dot caption equals, oops, and then we do the float to string F again, I'm just doing it on another line so you can see R%F cool, F fixed. Right, so we're going to do the same for the male, and I'm just going to copy and paste and then change the names of the captions, the labels. LBL perk male is for water. LBL perk male dot caption is R%M water. Then LBL, the other label for male, LBL cool drink males, LBL C male. You have to be very careful that you put the right things in the right places. R%M cool drink. So there's that. Then, have we done everything? Yes, we actually have. Believe it or not. So, it wasn't so bad, eh? Just looked a bit confusing. Okay, let's see what my syntax error is. R%M cool. See, that's the thing. R%M cool. We might have some more errors, but probably not. Right, so I'm just going to click some random things here. 2 soft drinks, water, male. So someone's going to come along and click these buttons. And when we display, then we'll see our numbers. Now that doesn't look quite right, does it? It looks like I've put something in the wrong label. So 10 people entered, and we actually have to put captions in the labels, and I've put them in the wrong place. So let's have a look what we've got here. This is LBLC male, LBLC female, and this is LBL perk male, and this is also LBL perk. No, this is LBLW male. They got it wrong. They didn't put the right. I'm changing the right name there. This is actually the name of the label. The captions really should be cleared. You know, the caption property should be cleared of these labels. So it's LBLW male, not LBL perk male. LBLW male. They've put a name on these labels for display. It is not necessary. If you're just displaying, I mean, if before you run the code, if it's just a message for the user to see what they must do, you don't need to put names on the labels like that. They don't need to have that. Anyway, we fixed it now, but what has to happen is we have to look at our display. We're supposed to say male, colon, and then whatever, and then the percentage sign. That's what we're supposed to do. So let's go and make sure we do that right. We'll say female, colon, and then we've got to join this to a percentage sign, like that. And that's got to be plus because we're adding. So this is a whole lot of strings here. I mean, a whole lot of mini strings joined together with plus signs, okay? So we have to do that. Put this here. Got to put the percentage on the end of each one of these so we can see what we're doing, what is being displayed. Okay, now we can run it and see. Take note, you can't click 2 things, you only click 1 thing on each of the radio group boxes. Anyway, let's go to display. So there it is. It looks rather strange, doesn't it? If I go and do some more, the program is running, so now we've got 9, and you can see that the numbers will change if I click record and then click display. So there's 10 now, and the numbers are changing. So yeah, so if it was the percentage of females that prefer water, and the percentage of females that prefer cool drink, the percentage of males that prefer water, the percentage of males that prefer cool drink. So that is actually quite important to note. And the count is just how many people actually click the button, how many clicks of the button there was. Right, so you try to do that by yourself.